I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
I saw he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack.
Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
Wanda! Let's go, baby! Let's go! I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got dropped, man!
No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? MCR family, another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, podcast from iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Going to be talking all things boxing today. Obviously, we had the Mike Garcia, Jessie Vargas press conference, which I was at, just tooting my own horn here, hey. Yeah, and so we're going to obviously talk about that being official, and basically a lot of the news that's sort of been the fallout of that press conference, the Jermall Charlo DAZN / Matchroom offer that Eddie Hearns has been talking about. You can check it out in our interview at Mixed Combat Radio on our YouTube page. Plus the Manny Pacquiao, Mike Garcia, Saudi Arabia plans for later in 2020. Just a lot to get to that's coming out of that press conference other than a Mikey Garcia and Jessie Vargas fight. Like that, while a decent fight and we can talk about it, there's other bigger stories that we're going to probably address and break down. Plus Wilder Fury 2 being talked about as a 2 million pay-per-view buy rate goal. Bobby Arum. You get off the indica there, man. I'm telling you. Just a lot to get to. Plus a lot of fight announcements and fight rumors now. Inoue, Casamora, Roman Gonzalez back in the mix, guys. Next week as well, fighting. So just a lot to get to in the combat sports world and in boxing in particular. And I am joined, as usual, on these shows by the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary, how are you, man?
I'm good. Good. Whoa.
No, you're good. I can. Okay.
Yeah. Good news is we're getting the Mikey Garcia fight in Dallas. The bad news is it's February 29th, which is Leap Day, which is my 4-year-old son's first birthday. So we're going to Disneyland. Which one's in California? Disneyland's in California,
yes,
right?
Disney World's in Orlando.
Yeah, we're not going to Florida.
No.
We're going to California.
Yeah, plus Orlando sucks.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's like 3 Floridas. We're not going to get into that. We go to Disneyland, so I won't be able to go to the fight.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. It was like when Canelo fought Liam Smith in Cowboy Stadium. Mm-hmm. It was my best friend from college wedding in New York, so I couldn't go to that fight.
That was at Cowboy Stadium? I thought it was at Alamo Dome.
No, I was at Cowboy Stadium. Who did he fight at the Alamo Dome? The only one I went to was Houston when he fought Kirkland.
Trout?
Trout was San Antonio.
Trout.
But when he fought at Cowboy Stadium, it was my best friend's wedding, so I was in the wedding. So I had to fly to New York, and his wife was from LA. She's Mexican. And like when they picked the venue, like a year before, there were only 2 weekends in September open. So she picked the 17th because it was Mexican Independence Day. So she's all excited. She tells her dad, we're getting married on Mexican Independence Day. And he goes, but Canelo always fights that day. So, and then it ends up being in Dallas. And that was, I'll never forgive him for that. Obviously, I had to go to his wedding because he's my best friend, but I'll never forgive him for that.
What an asshole. But we have so much to get to. Let's get straight into, I think, the topic that I know Gary wants to talk about the most, and the one that is seemingly, in my opinion, getting more of a buzz in the boxing sphere, which is the Jermall Charlo news, or contract offer that's being sent his way. So let's break that down, Gary. Even though that was at the Mike Garcia press conference, let's break down the Garcia-Vargas fight after this, because I think this is a bigger topic, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I interviewed Eddie Hearn. Check it out on our YouTube page. And per Eddie Hearn, Matchroom has sent Jermall Charlo a, quote, similar offer financially to Mike Garcia's. That's, quote, a one-fight deal on DAZN for the Demetrius Andrade fight. Said he would let Andrade go to PBC if they match the offer. He, though, does not believe they're going to match the offer. Gary, I mean, thoughts on this? Jermall Charlo is one of the guys. I mean, he's
He's on the wall.
I'll be honest. Like, he was your Figueroa before Figueroa.
Yeah, and then he didn't have he had some down performances, so it was hard to keep talking him up. I went from thinking that he was going to be the guy to beat Canelo to thinking that fight's a little bit, I don't want to say silly, because they're still top 5 middleweights, but I mean, he ain't going to win that fight. Let's be real. It is what it is.
Hey, it's your turn to talk, Gary, not mine.
I mean, they offered Mikey $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
If they offer him $7 million, then you have to take it. I don't know what you have with Al or PBC, but if they're offering you $7 million and all the about roughly, if they're offering you half that, you got to take it. Or if they're offering you 7, you got to buy yourself out of your contract. I mean, whatever.
I don't think that's even an issue, to be honest.
You have to make that, Matt. $7 million for a fight that it's a legacy fight, it's a unification fight, and then it makes a Canelo fight, which is how much do you think he's going to get for Canelo fight?
And in a weird way, even though both guys won their belts off of vacancy, in a way, obviously Charlo's more elevated than winning it in a vacant fight. Andrade won it in a vacant fight because of the Billy Joe Saunders situation. Him beating Andrade would legitimize his title reign.
Right.
I've said that, I think, before as well on the show, that neither guy is a legitimate champion at this point in time. Let's just be honest about it. They are a champion in name, but for respective circumstances, we don't view them as a legitimate champion at 160. We don't. We view Canelo as the king of the division that's off doing his other thing in other divisions, but still the king of the division, let's be honest. And then we have like Triple G surviving by just pure determination and wit, surviving against Derevchenko. And then you have, obviously, guys like Charlo and Andrade, 2 junior middleweights who have moved up and are sort of trying to gain legitimacy at 160. Fighting each other would do that. Plus be a unification, technically speaking, even though, again, the whole franchise champion is all that issue. I'm of the mindset here that like there's no issues to make this fight. Like, honestly speaking. And there's no one else on the table. I know Triple G is the guy that both guys probably want because Canelo's doing other things, right? But even Eddie said in my interview, again, check it out, like, Triple G doesn't want Andrade. They've tried to make that fight, and he says, I have failed as a promoter. Like, I can't give Andrade the biggest fights in-house. I can't do that. They don't want to fight him. Like, he said that. So you have to go across the aisle and reach out to a guy that's also struggling to get fights in Jermall Charlo. And as you said, Gary, if that money is being offered, either have PBC, Fox, or Showtime match it, or go to DAZN and take the one-off fight and collect a belt. Right? I mean, that's what I would do. And I would still pick Charlo to beat Andrade at this point, even though Andrade, I think, is definitely still, slowly improving in my mind as a boxer, but he's still a guy that has flaws. And while Charlo's flaws are there, I think that he is more of a complete package. I mean, how does Charlo not take this fight? He has to, in my opinion. I agree with you, Gary. I agree with you.
So there's 2 things, right? If they're offering Matt anywhere near that 7 million mark, he has to take it for a number of reasons. A, because this will be the biggest purse of his career, obviously. And B, because he just did 250,000 live viewers. That's a terrible number. So I don't understand why Eddie Hearn thinks Andrade, who's not a draw, and Charlo, who just put up a number like that, somehow warrants that big of a purse, right? If he gives Charlo 7 million, what's he have to give Andrade? He's got to give him the same thing, no?
Eddie said something to the effect that, paraphrasing, of course, but that like the zone's wanting the big nights, so to speak. And he said like the A level guys versus the D level guys has to stop.
Agreed.
And then obviously that's when I asked him, well, you have Andrade fighting Luke Keeler and Triple G fighting Zemurata. They're in-house guys. Why is that fight not happening? Beside that point and that fight not happening, I think a Charlo Andrade fight could be built up properly into a decent boxing night. Have a good gate revenue, have a good attendance. Whether it's on Fox, Showtime, or DAZN, produce a healthy enough viewership to make the corporate overlords happy. Let's be honest, and I just think Charlo's last fight had no buzz. There was no interest behind it. I think a Charlo Andrade fight would have a natural boxing interest and hype behind it. Like, we as hardcores would get behind that in ways we just don't get behind Andrade Keeler. Or Charlo versus who did he last fight? Why am I drawing a blank here?
Andrade fought it. Nobody.
No, not Andrade. Sorry, Charlo.
Oh, Hulk Hogan.
Thank you. The fight that happened like weekends ago. I already forgot about it. Think about that. So this would be a fight that we support, and we didn't support those two other fights.
No, it would have fan support.
But briefly, it's not making the money back. It's just not. And DAZN knows that. Everyone knows that. They're happy with that. At
a certain point, you have to make profit, right? That's how companies stay in business. If you keep putting out losers, you lose money. And a corporation only exists on two pieces of paper. One that says revenues and one that says expenses. When expenses are more than revenues, you don't have a business anymore. So at a certain point, there's no way you could ever make your money back on that. There's no way you could ever make your money back on Canelo or Triple G. At a certain point, the insanity's got to stop. I know they have a ton of money behind them, but rich people don't like to lose money. Outside of George Steinbrenner and the Yankees, he was fine losing all the money in the world as long as the Yankees won the World Series. Outside of him, billionaires don't like to lose money. That's how they become billionaires. They're obsessed with making money, right? Normal people don't become billionaires. You know what I'm saying? Only people who are absolutely obsessed with making money become billionaires, right? Yeah. It's like normal people don't become Kobe Bryant, right? Like Vince Carter had all the money, all the talent in the world. He could have been as good as Kobe Bryant. He didn't have the drive, right? So it's a special, and you can say it's good or bad. I don't want to have that. Greed is good, whatever. I don't want to have that conversation. But it's a special person that becomes a billionaire, right? Like not a normal person.
Sociopath.
So, what was that?
Sociopath.
Whatever. He has to have a one-track mind on making money. Think of Kobe Bryant's mentality or Tiger Woods' mentality on their sport is their mentality on making money. So when you keep losing money, we have to stop the bleeding. Even though it's not, I'm not going to be out in the corner with a cup in my hand begging for change. I don't like losing money, and that's got to stop. There's no way you can make your money back at any of these fights. So at a certain point,
Leonard in the chat is saying, what is Gary talking about? There's no way. It's all about subscribers. That's how they make their money back. So, Gary, they're just going to get enough subscribers to make that money back.
Dude, okay, Leonard, I'm not a mathematician. Prove me wrong. How many subscribers do they need to make? Let's say they only give Andre 3 million and they give Charlo 7. So let's use the easy number of 10 million. How many new subscribers do they have to add? And let's say they keep them for 6 months to get $10 million. I don't know the number. It's a lot.
They have what, 800,000 subscribers in the U.S. right now. That's times. I mean, it depends. The economic model is not uniformed. I mean, how many people are on the $20 per month?
True.
How many people are on the yearly plan? It's hard to tell. And to sort of equalize the financials there, I can't. But I would say this: I doubt they're making a lot of money at this point in time, especially in comparison to what they are expending in just terms of pure fighter costs. But I've told you this before, Gary. This is obviously an issue that's industry wide, and you're going to see a recession in the next 3 years. It's going to happen. You're going to see one of the big networks drop out again, whether that be really Showtime, which already kind of did drop out, or another network, whether it's DAZN, ESPN, Fox, whatever it may be, do not be surprised to see one of the other networks drop out. It will happen. There's no way it can sustain this.
But it will happen. These purses are insane. This is like the craziest. They're gonna give Charlo $7 million. Like,
but what's crazier? Charlo Andrade for $7 million for one of them, and let's say 3 or 4, whatever it is, for the other, or Mikey Garcia and Jessie Vargas, $7 million and whatever Jessie's making, and I bet Jessie's making a lot. To be honest,
would pay Jessie whatever he's been getting, $1 million and change. I'll give him that and not. You're Jessie Vargas. You're in no position to negotiate. Don't worry what I'm paying Mikey. You don't worry about that, Jessie. Okay, you're overpaid as is. Like, let's be real, right? If I'm paying him $100 million, it doesn't matter to you because I'm still overpaying you at $1 million. I'm just being real. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think Jessie Vargas is really in a place where he can negotiate for more money?
Sean in the chat is saying they're trying to build a strong platform, which means they need to put out product. If they're going to show, if they're going to show baseball, football, or basketball, the investments are billions of dollars. My brief response to that, and Gary, I want your response to that, would be baseball, football, and basketball would actually drive subscribers.
I agree.
Not really Tevin Farmer fights, or Demetrius Andrade fights, or Jake Paul fights, which we're going to get to. I don't think that's really a subscriber gain long term.
No, it's not a long term. The Jake Paul fight is going to bring in subscribers for that month. Canelo fights will bring in subscribers for the month, but I don't know that you're going to keep them. The Canelo fans you might keep. You'll probably keep some of them. But like my neighbor has a fight party for every single Canelo fight. They don't watch any other fights. That's it. They only watch Canelo fights, but they have a big party. So they're not keeping it. They're only getting it twice a year. They're getting it in May and September, hypothetically. That's it.
How many baseball, basketball, football games do you think your neighbor watches on a yearly average?
Football, they watch football all Sunday. A lot. You know what
I mean? Like that's the difference of what we're talking about, people. Like yes, obviously you need a content base. So you need content. And right now boxing, relatively speaking, in terms of other sports, is available and cheap. So you're going to get it. However, they are paying so far above market value that they're now paying them on par, if not way over the standard for athlete pay across the board. Like, you look at some of their high-end guys and what they're getting paid, they're meeting all the league minimum standards of the NBA, NFL, and Major League. They just are. Like, even the mid-card guys are. So
when Danny fought Keith Thurman, that's a bigger fight than Charlo versus Andrade. It's way bigger. They got a guarantee of $2 million each. Now, I know there was more back-end money. They probably walked away with double that. But still, look what we're comparing. And that was only 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. How long ago?
2017.
Okay, so
going on 3 years.
3 years ago, yeah. We went from $2 million per guy in a bigger fight to $7 million guaranteed. I mean, again, they can do it for so long, and they can probably do it for a while. But is DAZN going to keep wanting to do this, knowing they're losing money? I mean, we're talking about a lot between Canelo, Andrade, Mikey, and this fight.
Gary, trust me, we're going to get to a lot of DAZN topics here. So
I wanted to press you on one thing.
Quickly, let's circle back, because we're going to talk about, obviously, the Pacquiao Mike Garcia fight in a bit. So like that would be maybe another time to talk about DAZN and how they can survive as a business. But any other thoughts specifically on Jermall Charlo's deal? Not really deal, his offer from Matchroom for a one-fight deal on DAZN for a similar amount as the Mike Garcia offer.
I love it. Like it's great for my boy. I want Charlo to have these fights. I want Charlo especially to have the Triple G fight, which I think could be next when he beat Andrade, which would be a big money fight and a fight I think he could win. You know, so I think if those two wins, he's right back to where I thought he was. You know, a year and a half ago, whenever was the last time he looked good, right? Like those are two fights I think he wins, and two fights that'll bring attention back to him. And we should do that Andrade fight in Houston.
Ooh, I'm okay with that. Yeah, of course. You know me, I'm always okay with like putting guys where they probably draw the most in terms of gate. But let's talk about the press conference that started this all. Obviously, the Mikey Garcia versus Jessie Vargas finalized, official, February 29th in Texas. And I gotta say, it's weird how they're promoting this as like the next Morales Pereira. Like, I just don't see it. I don't know how Jessie Vargas has gotten that reputation as either one of those guys.
And I love Mikey. But Mikey ain't either one of those guys either.
No.
Morales and Pereira are legends, like legendary fighters.
I can't. But this is a good fight. I mean, like, I think this is, in my mind, this is a mercenary tune-up by Mikey Garcia's camp inside. They're going to go collect a scalp in Jessie Vargas that, while not a huge scalp, is a middling scalp. He's the B-level guy that you sort of build up your resume to make it a little more expansive, so to speak, right? You don't have just a few good names and then a bunch of tune-ups. You need some B-level guys in the mix, too. And Jessie Vargas is one of those guys, is definitely a tune-up, in my opinion, and he's getting paid a massive amount for it. So I respect the hustle. I just, I know what it is. I definitely am curious, obviously, to talk more about Pacquiao Garcia and how there is a 2-fight deal with the Saudi Arabia investors, government, whatever it may be, for 2 shows a year, and they want, specifically, Eddie Hearns said this in our interview, that they want the Manny Pacquiao Mikey Garcia fight for summertime, whenever it is in 2020, and that's the big fight they want, and that's the big fight that they're planning for 2020. Speaking of DAZN, Gary, obviously thoughts on Mikey versus Jessie being official, it being in Texas, and obviously the planned Pacquiao Mikey Garcia fight in potentially Saudi Arabia in 2020.
I think Texas is a good place for it, but Vargas is from Vegas, so that would have been a good place for it. And Mikey's from California, so that would have been a good place for it too. But I'm happy it's in Texas. I'm happy they're coming to my state, even though I won't be able to make it. Would have actually worked out better had they put it in California, because it would have been out there. But
I was kind of hoping that too, to be honest.
I mean, it's a fine fight. Like, we said Jessie's a top 15, 147 pounder. I think he's a little bit better than you do. So but we're going to find out about Mikey. Can Mikey beat the top 15 guys in this weight class? I think he can. I just don't think he could beat Spence or Thurman. And that's probably it. Yeah, and Crawford. But I think that he'll be in there with everyone. Like, I would pick him to beat Danny. So Porter's kind of iffy.
Who for Mikey?
Yeah.
Oh, Sean beats Mikey. Danny is the one where you can maybe argue that he beats Danny. But even then, like, I wouldn't mind seeing a Mikey Garcia, Sergey Lipinets too. Like, Lipinets has been looking good. Yeah, 147. That'd be interesting. But digressing from that point, Mikey's definitely in that like 7, 8, 9, 10 position in the division.
I don't understand. Why does he go to 40 and fight Josh Taylor? That's a great fight. Do that fight. Like, why is he staying at 47 where he doesn't belong?
Interesting. Regis Progress manager, Sam Katalski, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He was there at the press conference. I think Manuk Akopayan from LA Times and Boxing Scene reported this as well, that Regis Progress and that team, obviously Sam being there, they're trying to angle for the winner of this fight as well. Like, Regis Progress is trying to get in here and get in the mix with Mike Garcia or Jessie Vargas. So don't be surprised to see a return to 140 for maybe Mikey, or a most likely one of those 140 pounders just moving up outright and going straight to 147 pounds.
Taylor's so big, he's going to have to move at some point, right? It's like Spencer's going to have to leave 47. Like, Taylor can't stay at 40.
We're going to talk about Taylor later. And him.
Who would you pick in that fight, Taylor versus Mikey?
Mikey.
I think I picked Taylor, but it's okay.
Like, I would pick Mikey against Regis.
I would pick Mikey against Regis too.
I'll pick Mikey against any of the 140 pounders, to be honest.
Ramirez?
Yeah. 100% against Ramirez.
Barrios.
Stop. Akhmadov is getting robbed for not getting that rematch. But anyways, speaking of DAZN and how they're going to afford some of these big events, I mean, obviously Saudi Arabia is going to be used to offset some of these costs going forward for some of these big nights for DAZN, a la Joshua Ruiz 2, maybe Pacquiao, Mikey Garcia. I expect that site fee to sort of, again, offset most of the costs from DAZN to where they're not, losing money end over end because Manny Pacquiao is going to be asking for double what Canelo is asking for or whatever it may be, right? Like, that's just the nature of the ballgame now that DAZN has to pay these guys an exorbitant amount. How they're going to do that? Similar to Bob Arum taking Jose Ramirez and Victor Postal to China. What's the biggest site fee out there? What's the biggest check I can get? It used to be Vegas, but clearly that is shifting in a bit. And I would not be surprised to see a Manny Pacquiao, Mike Garcia fight, whether it's with PBC, whether it's with DAZN, be in Saudi Arabia. I would not be surprised at all. Gary, thoughts?
That is highly unfortunate. I mean, you're probably right. They got. We're just talking about how they're losing money. They got to make money back somehow. So, Saudi Arabia, it is. Saudi Arabia has the biggest bag. Saudi Arabia.
It is what it is, man.
But like, doesn't that come with a ton of expenses? Like, don't you think those guys need security? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand the bag's the biggest, but like, isn't it the biggest expenditure too?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it would definitely be a bigger expenditure than maybe some, like, if it's a U.S. company and working locally in either L.A. or New York, where you probably have most of your production crew and company. Yes. But the money you're making is so much more, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, when you're making a site fee of, let's say, $1 million in New York, comparative to $75 million.
I guess if it, yeah.
You know, like that jump up. You know, people think 175 is not that big of a. No, that is such a massive jump up that whatever cost is going to be increased, it more than enough pays for it. I think that's really the deal. Especially if those numbers we're hearing are true from like Ruiz, Joshua, the WWE. If those numbers are true, and I'm assuming a Pacquiao Garcia fight, the numbers being thrown around are massive as well, then yeah, I think everyone's taken care of. That's why everyone's so happy and jolly and acts like the company's. I mean, act like the country's the greatest thing since sliced bread. That money is nice.
Yeah, I mean, if they're giving you that much compared to what Vegas or New York is giving you, then they're going to go there. I mean, you don't have to. You could say no, but they're not gonna, especially when they're losing money elsewhere. So they have to make the money back somewhere. So it's going to be Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Any other thoughts on press conference news and topics that came out of the Mike Garcia, Jessie Vargas press conference? I will say this, kind of an odd press conference. Not from the Matchroom or DAZN perspective. Had a lot of weird energy from some of you media people. Just want to say that. It was odd.
How was it? Was it well attended? Was there a lot of media there? Yeah,
it was nice. Plus, it's LA. So, I mean, you're going to get the same crowd usually there. So, like, it's the same people I see in the same time. There were some new names that I haven't seen in some time that were not happy to see me. But most of it was the same old people.
Just was it a guy from Name Redacted?
I don't know if he was there for Name Redacted, though. I don't know if he, I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't know if he works there anymore.
He's got another thing now.
Yeah, but he weird.
I never met him. I saw he was at the Figueroa fight, but I didn't really get to talk to him or see him or anything. At the Figueroa fight in the Valley.
I want to say this. Either he didn't know who I was, which happens. I mean, people are forgetful. It happens. Which would be crazy, though, because we've worked a lot of fights together. Or he knew who I was and really did not want to talk to me. And I was cool with that. Like,
is either one really a loss, though? Like,
no, I'm fine. Like, you know, I'm antisocial. Like, I don't even want to talk to most of you people there. So I was good about it. Honestly, I was really pissed. I left most of my camera batteries at home. So that's why I did not get a bunch of content. unfortunately. But anyways, digress from that. Let's get to something that's more disappointing and just upsetting. Bob Arum out there saying Wilder Fury 2 should gross 2 million pay-per-view buys and $100 million. I mean, I made the point on social media that if ESPN had not hid Tyson Fury on ESPN Plus, had not fed him no names that no one cared about, actually promoted him better, even though they promoted him like crazy, but they kind of promote him in a piss poor half measure way, maybe they hit 1.5 million. Maybe. But in the last 12 months, since the momentum gain that was Wilder Fury, Fury has done nothing but trash on that momentum. While Wilder, I think, has done decently well, but also one of those fights was on pay-per-view, and I think that isolated his audience to a degree. But, I mean, Gary, how laughable is this statement from Bob Arum?
It's Bob Arum. It's laughable. It's Bob Arum saying Bob Arum things. We said if it does 1 million, it does well. But ESPN made such a big deal about Crawford's performance on against Kavaliakis, right? He was jammed. He got off the canvas. He came back and destroyed him. Max Kellerman said that. How much time do you think Max and Stephen A. spent on First Take on Monday talking about Terrence Crawford?
I actually didn't watch, but I'm going to assume not much.
Zero. They didn't even mention it. They spent the whole time talking about the Patriots and the video recording the Bengals sideline. That was like 40 minutes, and they didn't even mention Terrence Crawford. Like they didn't even mention
40
him.
minutes. No Teofimo Lopez mentioned?
No Teofimo Lopez, no Terrence Crawford mentioned. They didn't even mention it. It's just like, why are they investing all this money in boxing and they don't even mention it?
Honestly, if you're Teofimo Lopez or if you're Top Rank, he should have been in the ESPN car wash that Monday morning, in my opinion. That's what I would have done with him, to be honest. He has that huge win on Saturday night. You have all the NFL games the previous day. Put him through the ESPN car wash all Monday morning. Just do it. But no, it's lazy. It's lazy promoting.
I get Terrence Crawford's not the most personable person and stuff. Teofimo is.
No, he's good. He's good behind the mic.
Really good. Put a microphone in front of him. Talk to him. Ask him about everything. Put him on First Take. Have him bring his belt on. Have him on First Take. Chop it up with him. He's the future of Top Rank boxing. Him, Shakur Stevenson, and a couple other guys, right? Like Crawford and Loma are already in their 30s. So, I mean, they're on the wrong side of 30. Their careers are now and in the immediate future. Teofimo, Shakur Stevenson, those guys have a decade or more left. Like, make them household names, not to boxing fans, but to sports fans.
Yes.
The audience should know who Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez is, period.
And they don't.
And
Top Rank has been on ESPN for what now? 2 years?
At least 2 years, yeah.
You know, when they started putting some of their cards on ESPN and having, the HBO issues. In that time, you've had 2 years of promoting Shakur Stevenson, Michael Conlon, even to a degree, right? Teofimo Lopez.
And you saw that, right? Like, the Irish people love Michael Conlon. I mean, they're going to be so disappointed when they find out he's not that good, if they don't know that already. But they really do. And remember John Duddy? Irish John Duddy.
Yeah, vaguely, yes. Oh, my God.
He used to always fight on Pacquiao cards, right? Top Rank did that for a reason. Every single Irish, because I lived in New York at that time, right? Every single Irish pub in New York ordered that fight and it was packed out, right? John Duddy, believe it or not, was selling pay-per-views for Pacquiao. I know that sounds insane, but it was true, right? That's why Duddy was always on the card. Michael Conlon's got that kind of appeal. They love him. They're just going to be so disappointed when they find out he's
But even then, I mean, you have all these guys that have been on the ESPN circuit now for theoretically a few years. Has it really improved their brand? Maybe Crawford to a degree, you can argue, because the numbers are obviously higher than his HBO numbers. But then again, ESPN is a bigger network than HBO, so that's not really too surprising. It's one of these days, a few years from now, when we hit this recession, and ESPN and DAZN, that's my hot take prediction, both just drop out of their investment in terms of boxing. I'm going to write a huge expose, and not really expose, just an article, op-ed per se, that's probably better, that details how Top Rank and Matchroom completely fucked up in terms of promoting in the U.S. in 2019, the modern age. Because it's so blatantly obvious how they're fucking up. And we've been stating it time and time again on almost every show here, Gary. How the simple thing is they're just messing up here. And at times even the cowardness that stops them from making decisions. It's just a huge issue. But quick prediction. Pay-per-view buy rate for Wilder Fury 2. What are you thinking?
$850.
You're way too high.
I am, right?
Way too high. 500,000.
You don't think this WWE thing put Fury in now?
Another sphere? No. Maybe, but
you're gonna have two. It's gonna do what you said. 5 is what you said.
Yeah, I said 5. So that's a significant increase from the first one.
It is. I think Fury's a bigger star now, and I think you're gonna have two people promote it. You're gonna have both sides promoting the fight, right?
Allegedly.
850 is probably too high. I'm gonna go 700. I think it does better than what you think it's gonna do. I think both guys are better known quantities now.
I'll be honest. There's been a lot of these pay-per-views recently that we have been, what's the right term? Not overhyping, but we've been thinking the number's gonna be a lot higher than what it is. You know what I mean? Let's be honest here.
Errol Spence fights. We keep missing on those. Errol Spence keeps doing better than we think he's going to do.
People. I want to make it very clear. Even though we're talking a lot about DAZN here, because it was kind of a DAZN topic at the beginning of the show, the issue of, let's say, the economics of the industry is industry-wide, and we even said that. Okay? It's just that DAZN is more at fault for some of these issues than other entities. If you look at how much they're overpaying people. It's simply that. Let's be honest. Moving on. Let's get to some fight rumors and fight announcements. Manuk Akwapayan from LA Times and Boxing Scene saying Top Rank is aiming to stage Miguel Berchelt versus Oscar Valdez in Los Angeles sometime in quarter 1, early quarter 2. Carl Moretti tells me the Forum is the front runner as the venue so far. Should be a great all-Mexican scrap between two hard hitters for Berchelt's 130-pound WBC strap, writes Manuk. Gary, thoughts on Berchelt Valdez at the Forum first half of 2020? And I gotta say, even though we just had that rant about promoters failing in the modern age and in terms of promoting, this is good. This is the good setting, good venue. Everything about this fight is perfect thus far. Let's just hope it's on regular ESPN. Gary, thoughts?
It's the right place to put it. It's. I don't want to say it's a good fight because I think Berchelt's going to destroy him. Right. It's the right fight to make at the right time in the right location. I can't complain about the fight. I just don't think it's going to be highly competitive. I think Berchelt's going to just steamroll him. Right, which is good. I think Berchelt's a star in the making. I think if you want to make another Mexican star, to feed off what Canelo's added, I think Berchelt's that guy. I think he's stylistically right, and I think he's for a come forward aggressor. I think he's skilled for a fighter who fights like that. There's a lot to like about Berchelt, and I think we're going to see that. I think it's going to I think it's going to draw well. I think it's going to do well. It's obviously the right location. I like everything about the fight, except I don't think the fight's that close. I think Berchelt destroys him.
Damn, destroys him. One-way traffic.
5th round knockout. One-sided beatdown for 5 rounds. Look, they'll have exchanges and Valdez will land, but it's, he's going to eat a lot more every single round than he lands.
Me, I'm a Valdez hater, but gosh. Think about if they've built up Valdez for so long. going on what, 8 years of build up on this kid? On like almost near a decade for this guy. They've been building him up. Since like the 2012 Olympics, they've been building Valdez up.
Yeah.
And for him to end 5th round KO to Pacquiao after doing largely nothing in his career, man, that'd be upsetting. That'd be sad. Even as a Valdez hater, like that'd be sad.
It's like the Michael Conlon thing. Okay, the guy's not that good. Like you have to accept that.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm a Valdez hater. Like I should be fine with this. I just want a better fight. Like this is a Mexican scrap in LA. It should be something better. Especially since Top Rank, in theory, has been marinating this matchup for a long time, if you think about it.
They have, right? But you think it'll do well, it'll do a decent number on TV and it'll draw well in the form, right? Like we agree on that?
Sorry, repeat that?
You think it's gonna draw well, it'll attendance will be decent and it'll do a decent rating on ESPN.
I will say this. I'm gonna say yes because of the matchup and the pairing, but both guys have been struggling at the gate. I mean,
but you put them together.
True, but I mean, Valdez's last fight and card, there was more comps than sold tickets. I mean, they had a gate revenue of $90,000, guys.
Yeah, which like there are local club shows in San Antonio that do more than that. I mean, that is terrible. Like that is awful.
Valdez's purse alone was $300K disclosed. Frampton was on the card. He got paid $250K disclosed. And I heard both guys got paid a lot more too. Yeah, I mean, in theory, you're right that it should draw well, but we're coming almost to the same issue of like Charlo Andrade, right? Like that fight should draw well, right? But if you're paying X amount and you're only getting Y amount back, I mean, that's what's I think holding up some of these promoters and networks, forcing these big fights to happen. Because right now the cost to put on these fights is so much more than what they're going to get back. Same thing with almost Valdez Pacquiao. I think the amount you're going to pay for both guys is 7 figures, probably undisclosed for both guys. And they'll be lucky, Gary, to hit $500K in terms of gate revenue. Right? I mean, like, if we're being really honest here.
Yeah, they're not. Number 500,000 would be good for them. I mean,
they're not. Yeah, they're not hitting a 7-figure gate at the Forum.
No, not for
Pacquiao Valdez. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
But they're going to get paid both, in my opinion, and speculating here, 7 figures each.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, it does well, but respective to what they're going to pay to put on this fight, probably not. Same thing with Charlo Andrade. It's the same issue. Maybe not to the degree, because obviously Charlo Andrade has the similar price tag as the Mikey Garcia rumored $7 million, but still, I mean, you're having this similar issue here in terms of this, in theory, good matchup in the division, but the cost to put it on is a lot comparative to what you're going to get back for it, especially if this is an ESPN Plus fight. I mean, how many views is it going to get this on ESPN Plus? How many subscribers is this going to get on ESPN Plus? To be objective here, to be consistent in our arguments here. We said the same things about DAZN. Same issue here with ESPN. Like, what are they getting back here?
What is this going to be on the Plus app?
I don't know. We don't know yet.
Oh, you got to put this on regular ESPN because you want to make the winner of this fight a star, right? Like, don't hide it on the app. Should be for the hardcore fights, right? Like the fight. Okay,
that's what this is.
But you don't want it to be that. You want the winner to be a recognizable name, right? You want the winner to be on Golpe on ESPN, the Spanish whatever
Deportes,
it's called.
ESPN Deportes.
Deportes, there you go.
Yes.
Like you want the winner to be a star. Why are you hiding it then? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not going to make a star having a guy fight on the app. Not enough people have it. You know what I'm saying? Like
no, I understand.
And then you can't even find it. It's not like if you're flipping through the channels, you're going to come across it. You have to know it's on and then put it on. And the ESPN app, if you don't have a PhD, you can't figure that thing out.
It's getting a little better. But
it's not though. Like it's not getting better.
I was this right. The search feature, it's much better about putting the right results in front of me when I search boxing or MMA or UFC. It's a little better, right? But the user interface is still trash. Oh, no, you're right about that. I mean, it looks ugly. Just with Disney's backing, you think it would just look better. But moving on, Gary, unless you have any other points about Pacquiao, Valdez, ESPN Plus.
No.
Let's get to another potentially hardcore fight. Let's be honest about it. Gary Russell Jr. versus King Tug, Tugasat Nyambar, set for February 8th on Showtime? Or I don't know how we're gonna view this one, guys. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, is this a good fight? Is it? I know it's in a way mandatory, but is it a good mandatory for Gary Russell Jr.? Is it a good fight? Is it a good pickup for Showtime? In the long narrative of 2019 being Showtime is slowly getting out of boxing. Thoughts on Russell versus King Tug here, Gary? A fight that I'll be honest, I personally love. I've always been a fan of King Tug as a fighter. I've always been a little bit of a stand for him since the amateur days. So I like the matchup, but I know it's a hardcore fight.
No, it's for hardcores. It's a great fight. I think Gary Russell is extremely talented. I think he has one of the best skill sets and one of the best all-around games in boxing. That being said, this fighting once a year thing is not going to work, and I'm not picking him to lose. I'm going to officially pick him to win. But this could be when it's like, okay, he goes to the well, it's just not there anymore because you're not in the ring much. You're not as young as he's not old. I think he's 32. Like he's not old, but he's not young anymore either. And like it's just not there for you. This you go back to the well and you just can't find it. And this could be the fight he loses. I wish he fought twice a year, but he's not gonna. Like he's been doing this since like 2015, fighting once a year, which is what he is.
Yeah. Interesting way to frame it in the X factor of, is Gary Russell's lack of momentum a long-term issue that's eventually going to appear in a fight? Probably, right? Because inactivity, I think, is to a degree like you're not firing on all cylinders if you're just being too inactive. Now, I don't know how he's training. I don't know how often he's sparring. I don't know who he's sparring with. Like those are things that if I knew the answers, maybe it wouldn't be an issue, right? In my mind. Because he's still fighting decent competition each time he fights. It's not like he's fighting just a tune-up once a year. He's fighting relatively decent competition each time he goes out. And King Tug is one of those guys that's resurging. Not resurging. He's just surging as a prospect. And younger. Has obviously, I think, maybe a potentially higher ceiling. But surprisingly, I think Gary Russell actually fought more recently than King Tug. I think King Tug has actually been a little bit inactive in the last year. I could be wrong about that, but I want to say I'm right about that. So actually in this matchup, Gary Russell is going to be more active than his opponent. I believe. Like 99.9% sure.
That's like when Pacquiao fought Thurman. Like, yeah, okay. That's wild. I'm picking Russell. Russell's a better fighter. Russell, I think, is extremely skilled. I love Russell.
Arguably, he's the best featherweight still.
I think skill-wise, he is the best featherweight. Now, yeah, if I had to pick one guy to run the table, I would say it would be Russell. Not that I don't.
If there's a World Boxing Super Series right now with the top 8 guys in the division, my favorite would be either Gary Russell or Shakur Stevenson. Right?
I would pick Russell, like just based on the experience, the know-how. I mean, he's been through those fights before.
Yeah, agreed. Do you think it's a good pickup for Showtime though? Is it gonna stop the Showtime is dying, Showtime boxing is dying narrative of 2019? These types of fights.
Fox didn't want it because no one even remembers who Gary Russell is because he's so inactive. So Fox got it by default. Showtime got it by default.
And if you look at the Danny Garcia Red Catch card with oh, God, we forgot to talk about that. Jared Hurd is back against Francisco Santana. Ooh, that fight's rough. He's fighting a welterweight. Ugh, why? Showtime is going to have a rough 2020 probably as well. Right? Like, I don't see that pendulum swinging back.
The writing's on the wall. This is going away of HBO. I'm not like when you saw HBO, the only thing they had were Canelo pay-per-views, and they had Lucas Matisse against some Thai guy who took a dive. Like that's all they had, and then they had Jacobs and Derevchenko. But it's like he giving me like 5 shows this entire year, and they really weren't good. Like that's what's happening to Showtime now. Another year or two, Showtime will be done with boxing if Fox continues to do this to them. Like Fox is putting them out. You know what I'm saying? Fox is putting Showtime out of boxing.
Did you see the I'm assuming you did because I sent the screenshots also to this group chat. Did you see the back and forth from Espinoza and Coppinger last night?
Yeah.
Let me read these because I think in this context it makes sense to read these right now. Coppinger reported as ESPN fight between Terence Crawford and Mean Machine generated, and he used this term again, which I talked about on I think a show last week. Peak average of 1.512 million viewers, which is not a thing that does not exist. Espinoza accurately said there's no such thing as a peak average viewership. Peak viewership refers to the highest single minute of viewership by definition. It cannot be an average, and an average, which is made up of several higher and lower values, is by definition not a peak. He's absolutely right about that. And then Coppinger comes back and he's so salty. Oh, I need dramatic music for this. It's so good. So good. Thanks for the enlightenment, Steven. It's the average of the highest block. I'll work on my terminology. That reminds me. When is that Wilder Fury 2 Showtime announcement coming? Or did you trade Wilder Fury for TSG Red Catch? And Espinoza responded, "Nice one, Mike. Very journalistic of you. Does DAZN pay you for that one too? Or was it a freebie?" So good. And then I think it was one more. Hold on. Let me make sure I got everything. This is worth it, guys. All right, here we go. DAZN's never paid me. This is my Coppinger speaking. Their executives also don't jump in the ring and front and center like you did with Mayweather versus McGregor. You know what? DAZN also never claimed to be the broadcast home of Wilder Ortiz 2 and Wilder Fury 2. Oh, the pettiness of Coppinger. Oh, it's so good. And then we had Espinoza replying, "You're mad about a press conference I spoke at in 2015? LOL. Have a nice night, Mike. Enjoy the fights in Arizona." And Coppinger with one last pettiness. "Won't be in Arizona. Covering Harrison Charlo 2, live on Fox." Oh.
Coppinger. Why is Coppinger this salty and this petty? Like,
it's weird, right? It's a little bit odd.
Like Espinoza probably had some explaining to do. He had to like, what is a peak average, right? Like when that came out, I thought it was the average of the main event, but I don't know. Like that was my guess. Like gun to my head, I don't know what that means either. A peak average is a peak and an average. Which one are you referring to? So they were probably talking about the average of the main event. But like, if you work for Showtime and like that kind of needs some explanation, doesn't it? So, like Espinoza explained what that meant. You know, Coppinger knows how television ratings work. Like this is not his first rodeo. Why would he report it like that?
I don't know because I know that. And I'm 24, and I'm just a YouTuber. I know that, but regardless, like
anyone who watches live sports kind of knows that, right? Like they just kind of do. Like the Super Bowl, the peak was whatever, but the average was this number.
I think you know what it is that Espinoza and Showtime are now like the uncool kid at school. Like he's now the guy that's gets made fun of by the cool crowd.
Yeah.
Like I Coppinger came in kind of late to the press conference today, And like Steve Kim and like Manuk, Aquapine, like a bunch of like the more print guys, or like air quotes print, because they just write articles. It's not really print; it's still digital. They kind of came and were chit chatting to him, and I was right next to them because I was on the stage getting my camera set up, and they're just like giggling like high school schoolgirls about the back and forth with Espinoza. I don't know if like I'll be honest. Part of me thinks Cop did it just for attention. I'll say it. I'll be honest. Okay. I think that Coppinger likes attention. I think that's why he breaks news so often and a little bit unethically at times, I'll say. Maybe that's a little bit of a harsh term. And I think you had an easy dunk here in Espinoza because Espinoza's easy to dunk on. He's now the cool person to make fun of in that sense, right? He's not a cool person. It's cool to make fun of him now. And I think that's kind of what it was, to be honest. If I had to guess, and media people are often petty, speaking as a media person, we're often petty assholes. So I kind of get it. It was funny. But it was weirdly petty at times. Like it was a little bit extra salt, like more salt than needed. Gary.
Yeah.
But circling back, I mean, Showtime's dead, right? Showtime Boxing dead. Yeah.
More or less. Yeah. Right. It's like, okay, Coppinger won because he was, he had way more ammunition at in this fight. What's Espinoza doesn't have that much to fight back with, right? Like, oh, you're working in cahoots with a company that's way better than ours. Take that. Like, obviously Coppinger's going to win. I just don't know, A, what he gains from that, other than, I guess, people laugh. And B, like, where does all that hostility come from? It's like when 50 makes fun of Floyd for not being able to read. It's like, isn't that a little deep? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is Cop cutting so deep? Like, he said it like 3 times. You trade down for Danny's Garcia live, and then Charlo live on Fox. It's like, why are you cutting so, like,
I wonder
he hurt you.
I wonder what happened, and it's hard to say because like it's not Showtime, but like I wonder when Coppinger left the Inside PBC gig and went to the Athletic, whether there was like animosity between him and some of the PBC people. I would assume no, because he still, I think, does get like the occasional gig on Inside PBC, and I want to say he obviously credentialed for the Harrison Charlo card, and that's a PBC card. So like, I don't know. I don't know why. I think it's just like it's a cool thing to make fun of now, and boxing Twitter is high school.
So if you're Showtime, PBC, would you credential him the next time there's a Showtime fight worth covering? And I don't know if there'll ever be one again, but let's assume that there is. No, you made fun of me. No.
He made fun of me. Gary.
Am I wrong? Like, I don't need to give you a credential. There's plenty of media here. Like,
well, look, I'm always of the mindset like
anyway.
Media should be allowed to almost say whatever they want, unless like it's like.
But it's
libel.
hurtful. It wasn't.
So who cares if it's hurtful?
What was that?
Who cares if it's hurtful? Like
personal.
Oh,
Steven Espinoza. Like, you wanted to upset Steven Espinoza, so now I'm gonna let you cover my fight. No, get out of here.
Did Cop just feel slighted by the whole like correction, and did he over course corrected there on his slight back? I mean, that's probably what it is too, to a degree.
My concern is Coppinger reported it like that to be deceiving he knows what a peak and an average is. He did that to be deceiving. Like, what was he looking at? What was his move there? Like, why was he trying to make it look bad?
Maybe he's just not that good. Like, has that ever been?
He's not that good, but he's not the dumbest person. He's been doing it. He's reported boxing. I'll look for it.
I know. That was more in jest. I mean, Coppinger's been in it for a very long time. He should know. I don't know. I think it's odd. I think the whole situation's odd, to be honest. I think it's funny because like it's funny for a variety of reasons.
It is funny, but like
it is odd, and it is kind of like, why is this happening? Why is Coppinger being so salty? But digressing, let's move on. We've been talking about it for long enough. What else? What else should we get into? Let's go to Nao Inoue versus John Casamora. Negotiations or initial talks taking place by way of Michael Benson. Casamora's representative Sean Gibbons confirmed to me today, that's from Michael Benson's writing, he said to meet with Bob Arum and Akiko Honda next week for further negotiations over the unification, which could happen around March, April. Gary, we have Nao Inoue versus John Rael Casamora, unification negotiations underway. What are you thinking? First top-ranked fight for Inoue is a unification?
Are they going to do it? I love it. Like,
Yeah.
again, I kind of think of it the same way I think Valdez and Burchell. Like, I think it's good. I understand why they're making it, and it's a unification fight. I just think Inoue blows them out. But
Yeah.
I see no reason why not to make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Casamora deserves the fight. Let's do it in Japan. Let's not, I think that's where it belongs.
Yes.
I have no problems with the fight. It's a good fight. Let's put it in the right location, make the fight, but I think Inoue destroys him.
You really think he destroys him like Bachot destroys Valdez? I think that's pretty harsh.
He's there to be hit.
Casamora is way better than Valdez. Like, significantly better than Valdez. You gonna box record right now? Go box record. It's okay.
Yeah,
go do it. No, it's okay. It's okay. Refresh yourself. That's fine. I'm completely okay with that. I mean, it's not like we have photographic memories, and there's 17 divisions.
Every big fight that he's in besides this one. But
I mean, no, don't get me wrong. Inoue should win this, but it should be competitive. I think it should be more competitive than Emmanuel Rodriguez. I mean, Casamora is far more proven than Rodriguez was. I think it might end up. I'll put it this way. You know how we thought Payano should have gone down? In terms of like that fight and competitiveness, and it didn't happen. It was 40 seconds. I expect this fight to be what Payano should have been, if that makes sense. A good 6 to 8 rounds of action, but eventually Inoue's power, his boxing skill, it's too much. The wear and tear of Casamora's career, too much, and Inoue gets the stoppage after the second half of the fight.
That's how I thought the Manny Rodriguez fight was going to go, except he iced him in 2 rounds.
Yes.
I'm looking at Cass. Okay, he's got to win over Charlie Edwards, and then he lost to Jonas Sultan. I don't know. Like, I don't think he's a bad fighter. I think he's a good fighter. I just think he's fighting arguably the best fighter in the world, who's a seek and destroy guy. Like, I think it's stylistically. It favors Inoue.
Yes.
And Inoue's power, unless you're massively big and strong like Donaire, I don't know how anyone else is going to take that. Donaire took it well, and he still almost got knocked out. Again, if you're going to be there to be hit, he's probably going to ice you. I don't know how he does it, how he survives, right? Like I just don't see it.
Plus, it'd be Inoue's first fight back from the orbital break or fracture, whatever he had. I don't know, man. That injury is tough to come back from for a fighter. Just saying. I expect a more timid Inoue at the start. I'll say that. Layoff, injury, some factors there.
What round do you think it's going to go? How many
rounds? I said 6 to 8. I want to say 6 to 9.
I'm going to say 4. I think that's being. Look what he's been doing though. Outside of the Nair fight, like he was icing everyone. Like
true.
I'm gonna say 4, just because he's there to be. Not that I think he's a bad fighter.
No, like, I understand. I will say this: his defense did look better in the Tete fight, but maybe that's because Tete was a little bit overrated. Possible. Yeah. Remember, guys, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. International callers, Skype. Mixed Combat Radio. Santiago, I see you there. Don't forget to press 1 if you want to talk. We have a lot of different fight announcements and rumors to get to. Lawrence Okoli, Krzysztof Głowacki, obviously in the works because of the whole WBO situation with the whole Brias situation. It's just a clusterfuck in the cruiserweight division. But Okolie surprisingly says he wants Krzysztof Głowacki in the U.S. And I gotta say, as a guy that probably needs the judges in his side, bad move by Okolie here. Gary, I kind of wish Rob was on this show for this topic because, I mean, Okolie is his guy, right? I want to make fun of Okolie when he's here, but I know he's gonna be listening back and he's gonna be like grinning and like, oh, these cunts. Okolie is the real deal. They're gonna see, but Okolie's gonna get completely washed in this fight, and this fight's in the U.S. Maybe in the Triple G card. Maybe put Głowacki and Triple G in Chicago. I could see that. I expect Okolie just to really not have any success here in this fight. Gary, thoughts on Głowacki versus Okolie for that vacant WBO belt, and it being in the U.S. Thoughts on that in particular?
I mean, I don't think. See, now you're making it sound like Okolie's going to get blown out, right?
He is.
I mean, probably. Can we bulk him up, Okolie? I mean, do you think he'd be better if we? How tall is he?
Ooh.
He's tall, right? Can we bulk him up and make him a heavyweight?
Why?
I don't know, because he'll make more money that way. Because I don't think he's going to win this fight either. I don't know that he's going to get destroyed like you're talking about. I don't think he's a bad fighter. But, like, he's not that good. He's a cruiserweight. Cruiserweights really don't make the money that heavyweights do. So, like, if he's going to get beat by top-level fighters, let him get beat by top-level heavyweights.
Okay, I see your point now.
It's not like Usyk or what's the Cuban guy's name? I always forget.
You mean Ortiz?
No.
Rivas. Oh no, you mean cruiserweight? Oh, Dorticos,
yeah. Right? Like that guy can make a run at cruiserweight, so you don't want to bulk him up because he can be a champion at cruiserweight for a long time. Okolie's not, right? Like Okolie's just going to lose to good fighters, so you get paid more to lose to Pulev than you will to Głowacki. So go up the heavyweight.
I see people picking Okolie in the chat. What are you people smoking? Please. Like, tell me what drugs you're on to pick Lawrence Okolie against Krzysztof Głowacki, who remind me, Gary, didn't he beat Marco Huck in like a Fight of the Year contender? Marco Huck at least won the top 10 cruiserweights of all time. Right? I think we can safely say that. How do you pick Okolie, a guy that looks like a newborn baby fucking giraffe? Okay. How do you pick him, a guy that's looked bad in all of his fights? One of the most unentertaining fighters of all time. A fighter that still does not know clean boxing technique. You're picking him, that guy, against Głowacki, a guy that's proven, a guy that has clean boxing technique. I just, like, flabbergasted, shocked, surprised, like, none of these words do it justice when I say that you people picking Okolie to win need help, and I am utterly shocked that you guys are picking Okolie. Wow. I don't know where Gary went to go yell at his kids, probably. Hey, be quiet. Doing a podcast. Remember, guys, call in 323-870-4051. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that fun stuff. Craig saying, look, it's very different. I think you're trying to make a point, Craig, in the chat that like Okolie is a boxer that like negates your offense and I don't know, is a defensive-minded fighter or something, and that's why his fights are bad. But we use that in conversation with the guys like Jermall Herring, guys that have actually fought in sort of, elite competition and have negated their offense. Okolie has fought in borderline, even club-level guys, and just has bad fights. Why? Because he's a bad fighter. And the guys he's fighting are bad fighters too. Like, that's simply what it is. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's not about how, like, he's a defensive wizard and he's stopping your offense, he's stopping your movement with subtlety. No. He's just not good. And the guys he's fighting are not good. And you may have this opinion that he's good, but it's not based on anything that's reality. It's not based on anything that's tangible. It's not based on anything that's, I don't know, common sense. It's based purely off of some narrative hype that I'm assuming his network or his promoter put on him. Because, again, there's no way you can pick Lawrence Okolie to win this fight against Glowacki. I just don't see it. It's ridiculous. Worst pick ever.
Every time I turn my head, my daughter beats up her little brother. Every time. Like,
It happens.
This is what happens.
It happens. Happens to the best of them. Any other thoughts, Gary, on Okolie and Glowacki?
Yeah, if you think Okolie wins the fight, just leave in the comments, like, how? How does he win that fight?
Just no comment. Like, I'm getting gray hair from my kid. I don't need gray hair from you people in the chat with really shitty opinions. Just don't need it. Better Beef versus Mang. IBF orders a December 30th purse bid, meaning this fight is for sure happening next. It was supposed to happen on that Ramirez postal card, but I think either Better Beef or Mang got injured. I forget which one. And lining up the fight for first half of 2020. Gary, do you expect them to go back to China for this fight? Because obviously Fanlong Mang, Chinese fighter. I know there's some talk about this fight being a U.S. Fight instead, because it, in theory, sort of missed the Chinese boat, and Ramirez and Post are taking it. But do you think they should try to run it back a Chinese venue, whatever it may be, because of having a Chinese name?
I mean, it's worth a shot, right? I think it would do better there, maybe. Like, I don't see why it has that much appeal in the U.S., so, I mean, it's probably worth a shot, and I like watching boxing in the morning, so let's do that.
Agreed. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez is back, ladies and gentlemen. He's back. He's fighting a guy named Domel Diakos on the New Year's Eve Japanese card with Kenshiro, Murata Methylan, Akira Higashi, that whole deep card, which we're going to break down eventually. Probably sometime this weekend we're going to break it down. Maybe tomorrow or Friday we're going to break down this card specifically. I know there's a lot of just Japanese boxing fans in the hardcore community. But Gary, thoughts about Chocolatito coming back, man? The return of the former pound-for-pound number one fighter in the world.
Is it going to be at 115?
You know what? I probably should have read the article. I'm assuming it's at 115. Oh. Keep talking.
He came up over a lot of weights. I mean, 115 may not be the best weight for him. If that's the only one he can make anymore, that's the only one he can make anymore, right? But you saw Donaire go back down to a more natural weight. I think that's the right move for Chocolatito. I think if he could go back down to, like, let's say 112, that might be a better fit for him, because he never looked as good at 115 as he did at the even smaller weight classes. But, like, Chocolatito fights are always fun. Obviously, the guy's a big hitter. Obviously, the guy has talent. So it's fun to watch him fight. It's a good card to put him on. I just like to see him, if he can, and I don't know if he can, go down to 112 or something like that.
This fight is at 115, by the way. But I'm not surprised in the late stage of his career.
But Donaire did it, right? Like, Donaire's in 36, 37, and he went back down to 118, and he looked way better than he did at 126. I don't know if he can make 112. I have no idea.
I mean, in theory, you're probably right that he should be able to make it. It shouldn't be an issue. But 112 is a murderer's row too right now. Martinez, Rosales, like, that's a tough division.
I think he's better at 112. Not that 112 is an easy division. It's not. But I think his best weight would be 112.
But don't you think that, I mean, at this point in his career, he's kind of, for lack of a better term, like, trying to cash out? And the big fights for him are rematches with Estrada or Rungs VI or something along those lines. Maybe a Kaleo Yaffe fight in the UK.
If he's looking to cash out, yeah. Because I pick all those guys to beat him. If he's looking to make one more title run, and he wants to, and he has 3 years left in him, then I would say go, if you can, try to make 112 because I think that's a better weight for you. But if you're looking just for one or two big money fights and then leaving, yeah, then 115 has better money fights.
Circling back to Okolie, because Craig in the chat saying I've said it twice in the chat. Oh, Gary wasn't there. Don't worry. He's saying because he's absolutely horrible to fight against, he stifles any fight from breaking out, and he does have a long jab and can hit hard. That's how Okolie wins, Gary. You're
Okay,
muted.
I mean that's a blueprint. I don't agree with it, but fine. That's
fine.
No, as long as you can explain to me how you think he wins. Like, I'm not going to agree with you, but okay, fine. You're not just saying Okolie's going to win because I like him. You've given me a reason. I don't agree with your reason, but okay, fine.
I said it. I think you weren't here. I said it. The reason why he's horrible to fight against and you don't really get offense going because most of the time the opponents we've seen him fight are also bad, and he sucks. So we're talking about two people that respectively are not good fighters fighting. So, of course, the fight isn't good. Of course, there's not a lot of offense that's efficient and technically good. Let's be honest here.
What's interesting is Okolie is ranked higher by BoxRec rankings than Glowacki. And Glowacki has big wins, so he seems like he'd be a BoxRec favorite. But Okolie is third at cruiserweight. Glowacki is fourth. I just wanted to look at the names on his resume, and they're obviously not good. I don't. BoxRec likes him. I can't figure that out.
Yeah, that's weird. Because at least like Jeff Horn had the Pacquiao win, which like it made sense why the algorithm to this day is always fucked up with Jeff Horn because he has the Pacquiao win, right? But I mean, Okolie has. I mean, has he been? Does he have one top 20 win in his resume?
No.
No.
I mean, the last one was an undefeated prospect, but it was an undefeated prospect we never heard of before. Right? I mean,
that means nothing to me.
I could say that it was like Joet Gonzalez, right? Like, okay, he hadn't really beaten anyone going into the Stevenson fight, but he looked good. But Okolie doesn't really even look that good, right? Like,
no, I said it again. You weren't here. He looks like a newborn baby giraffe.
You know what that looks like? But I'm going to YouTube that when we get down to the show.
Like Google and YouTube newborn giraffe walking. I'm telling you, that is Lawrence Okolie. Not saying it's the same thing, but it's like practically the same thing. Newborn baby deer walking, same concept there, Gary. More of American metaphor for you. You know, you know what that means. Any animal that has very long legs that is awkward, that and like is newborn and like is learning to walk. That's what Lawrence Okolie looks like when he's trying to box. No idea what's happening. He has no idea what to do. How do my arms form punches? I'm just gonna do stuff. Like people think he's gonna beat Glowacki. Travesty. Elliot Foster reporting that according to the European Boxing Union, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing will promote a show in Manchester, exact location to be confirmed on March 7th, my birthday, with Callum Johnson versus Igor Mikhayan for the vacant light heavyweight title, obviously the WBO title. Gary, thoughts on Callum Johnson picking up Canelo's vacant strap?
Wait, say that again, Callum Johnson.
Igor Mikhayan, the guy that fought Sergey Kovalev and
Yeah, I remember the name. I remember the name. And Caleb Johnson?
Yeah, Callum Johnson.
Yeah.
Guy fought Better Beef.
Yeah, I know who he is. He beat Sean Monahan too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they beat Sean Monahan. Monahan? Who cares?
Whatever.
That guy that like for some reason got a bunch of hype because he sold tickets.
We're never gonna have to say his name again, so it's irrelevant, right?
That's true.
I mean, Callum. I'm gonna say Caleb because that's how I talk.
Okay.
Caleb Johnson. I mean, he's a good fighter. I like him. I mean,
there's no one better they could have got for a vacant belt.
Why can't they make that Joe Smith Jr. versus Jesse Hart fight for a vacant belt? I don't know if they're ranked by the WBO or whatever, but I'm sure Hart's ranked by the WBO. He's a top ranked guy.
John Pascal Badu Jack. I mean, anything. Any fight between two top 15 guys. I mean, Callum Johnson's a top 15 guy probably, but Igor Mikaikin is not. I mean, he's a guy that's flirted to cruiserweight a few times and lost there. I mean, he's a guy that's never really committed to this division. I don't even know how these two guys are now fighting for a vacant strap. This is like Charles Martin, Glassoff levels of a vacant title fight, right?
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense because they're not Top Rank or Frank Warren fighters. So like, how do they get to fight for the WO belt? Like that's
like what? How? That's not possible.
It makes a lot more sense for Jesse Hart versus Joe Smith to be for that vacant belt.
And it would have. It's just because it's Top Rank, man. Let's be honest.
And like, look, Callum Johnson, he's a good fighter. I mean, he's not going to be any of the premier light heavyweights, but he's a decent fighter. He's a tough guy. I'm happy for him that he gets a belt. But, I mean, I don't know who they're going to have him fight next, but he's going to lose it pretty much right away, wouldn't you think? Unless they give him a real hometown.
Yeah.
I gonna lose.
You know what? I would not be surprised, depending on what happens with Callum Smith at 168, to see a Callum Smith-Callum Johnson fight for that 175 belt.
Yeah, that's what I said when you want to test the waters with Smith going. Have him fight Callum Johnson. If he can beat him, he can compete at 75. So
now you can do that.
To be a world champion. It's like, okay.
Now you can do that for a belt. And I expect, depending on that Canelo fight, because I think Canelo is an option for Callum Smith. Callum Smith is also in attendance for the Daniel Jacobs Chavez card. I think potentially scouting out an opponent there. So a lot that could happen and a lot of movement. And having a piece of the division at 175, it'd be good for Matchroom to have. Moving on, though. Adrian Broner has to pay nearly $830,000 in a civil suit judgment. I want to say this is a sexual assault case as well, though this article is not saying that. I think from the TMZ article, it said a sexual assault. I mean, is it time now that we don't have to talk about Adrian Broner? Like, is it official? Like, he's out here like paying over like almost $1 million because he is assaulting women in clubs. He's retired quasi again. Like, we can wash our hands of this guy now, right? Is it time?
Thinking about it,
yeah. Fuck Adrian Broner. Just want to say that. Disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, just sort of a string of disgusting news here. Josh Taylor pleaded guilty for racial abuse as he called a doorman a litany of bigoted and xenophobic slurs at a club in the UK. And look, this is a guy that's been xenophobic in the past about immigrants, so this is not really surprising. Like, Josh Taylor is not a good person. So I'm not surprised here. Glad he just said, hey, I'm guilty. Fuck it. I'm sorry. My bad. Is what it is. At least do that instead of trying to fight it. At least just admit you're fucking racist. Gary, thoughts on your man's Josh Taylor?
I don't know how he's my man's, but when I rob all of a sudden, he's not my guy. Class act.
I like how you phrase it, though. While out celebrating with friends on Saturday in Edinburgh, I made some stupid comments and poor decisions, resulting in legal charges. No, motherfucker, you said a bunch of fucking bigoted shit, asshole. Anyways, I think we have one more nasty-ass topic to get through. Bob Arum forced to apologize over insensitive IRA comments at MSG. Basically says something to the effect that he wants, like, Colin to play more IRA songs or something to that effect. There's a reason I put all these stories right in a row, just so we can get through them as fast as possible. Bob Arum, another guy that's like noted and like on the record for just saying really awful shit. Plus, he's a Joe Biden supporter. So, I mean, like, he's backwards in terms of his thinking and ideology. Let's be honest about it. But Bob Arum, nasty out here making terrorist jokes. Ugh,
I think Aram and Biden went to high school together. I think that's why they're.
Yeah, they built the wheel together. Digressing. What else do we have? That might be it. Oh no. I saved this technically for the last topic, though we kind of mentioned it. Jake Paul and this guy named Gibb is fighting on the Andrade Keeler card, and it's actually bumping Farmer Diaz out of the co-main event slot. So this is now the co-main event, allegedly, to Andrade Keeler, which is kind of like the walkout bout. So, yeah, that's happening. Yeah.
Got to keep those subscribers. I mean, it's business.
Yep. I mean, do you really think this is going to add subscribers? Like, do you really think this is a business model?
Nope.
Nope.
But look, I don't have the data. I don't know. It's not a publicly traded company, so you don't get to see all the financials. So it doesn't seem like it would. I mean, if there's any YouTubers in there, I mean, let us know. Like, are your YouTube friends gonna keep the zone to watch this fight? Or anybody subscribing now to get a Jake Paul fight? I mean, I would say no, but I don't know.
I just don't care about this anymore. That's gonna be it for today, Gary. We have no other topics to get to.
We got Santiago on the phone?
We do, but you didn't press 1. It's probably busy. It's okay. It happens. What other things do we want to talk about? That's about it. Anything, Gary?
Oh, yeah, I did want to press you on one thing. You said you would look at...
Talking to the mic there, Gary.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I want to read what I wrote. You said that you would look at the winner of Charlo Andrade as a legitimate champion.
Yes.
Okay. But you also said the other day that you wouldn't look at, like, let's say Luke Campbell wins the fight with Fortuna and gets the WBC belt. And I asked you, if Campbell and Haney fought, would you look at that guy as a legitimate champion? And you said not as long as Loma's still in the division.
I think that one is a little bit different because that's still within the WBC, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a consolidation of one belt, while Charlo Andrade is technically a legit unification.
So you're saying...
You are grabbing another sanctioning body and putting it into your sphere of influence.
Okay.
Not just consolidating one sanctioning body's sphere of influence.
So you're saying that Loma is still the WBC lightweight champion?
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay,
while with Charlo, while Canelo would still be the WBC champion, he then picks up the WBO belt. That would then legitimize him. Maybe not legitimize him as the WBC champion, but as a champion. Yes, that's the difference. I think that would be how I would differentiate them in my mind. Though they are similar. That is a good question. And good for checking me on my consistency. I like that. Anything else, Gary? Any other questions about?
No. I wrote that down because I didn't want to not get to it.
That's fine. I like that question. That was good. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. You can find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Shout out to all the media people that gave me weird energy at the press conference today. I noted it. I'm petty, like Mike Coppinger to Steven Espinoza. I will remember shit. Just letting everyone know. And what else is there? Check out the Eddie Hearn interview. We put out a bunch of videos as well to the channel. Check them all out. A bunch of other stuff, guys. Check out the channel, podcast feed, website, everywhere we go. Mixed Combat Radio. Support the channel, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. If you want to support us in any financial way. Have a great day, great night, great evening. Gary?
Find me on all forms of social media at 3D Boxing or 3D Boxing Blog. It's another good show. Rob, I hope you come back and you leave us some comments about Lawrence Okoli and let us know why you're picking him. That's going to be interesting. But remember, like, subscribe, all that stuff from Texas to the world. God bless, and good night.
Peace.